Everything is personal right here. Everything is personal right here.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to a new episode of Everything is Personal with our guest, Marcy Axelrod. How you doing, Marcy?
Hello there, Len. Thanks so much for having me on.
I'm going to try something. I got sound effects. I'm going to see if this works. So, Marcy Axelrod. Did that work? You hear an applause or no?
No.
No. All right. It didn't work. But I heard it in the background, but maybe it's too low. We'll put it in afterwards in post. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Marcy, I wanted to ask you, you spent, and correct me if I'm wrong, over 2 decades researching achievement, basically, and human behavior. I wanted to understand what sparked this obsession with how we show up.
So, Len, my story is a very cohesive narrative. I'm very unusual in that there was a determining event at age 6 that sent everything going. And, I think we all have these seminal events in our lives that just change our course. So I started to stutter when I was 6. My parents both got new jobs. We moved from Baltimore to Boston, and mom and dad were busy. And little Marcy, who was always kind of just doing the right thing, I just was left alone. So my needs weren't met. And I wasn't one, Len, to act out. So I acted in. And that fatal combination of genetics and environment came together, right? New place, new school, new home, no friends. Yeah, so my throat locked. And in that moment, the stress was so intense. I literally remember feeling shocks of lightning from the earth through the soles of my feet, through my body, blasting through my skull into the sky. And that's when I said, this is too much. So instead of feeling my own pain, my self-mirror turned outward. And for people listening, I'm taking hands that are cupped facing me and I'm turning them out. And I started to observe how everyone else was showing up because I couldn't show up as I chose. So I observed everyone else. And all of a sudden, what you see, once again, I'm 6, 7, 8. There's the bully over there and the scaredy cat over there and the shy person over there and the educator not doing anything. And I said to myself, how is it that they can throw their show up choices away? So that was going on in my seminal years. At age 12, then it really got cemented. I was sent to a rehabilitation hospital to learn to speak, supposedly. It had a special program for kids who stuttered where you talk into this metal box. And if you said it the right way, a red light went on. And there I was thinking my precious moments are being spent like this. But as the good kid I was, I just did what I was told. But, there was an hour a day. We got to go have lunch. And I saw elders, stroke victims mostly, and people in accidents, people who needed rehabilitation in a live-in environment. They were learning to do basic things. They were learning to walk again, to take a single step, right? To sit, to stand, to hold a fork and feed themselves. And I said, wow, these elders, 70s and 80s, right? With a lifetime of wisdom, with experts by their side, because Lord knows they all did, one on each arm. And these well-made plans, they would flip through these papers they had, these stapled plans. I said, even people with a lifetime of wisdom, with experts by their side and well-made plans can't show up as they choose. This is too hard, right? Where's the roadmap? Where's the blueprint? So right there at age 12, in that rehabilitation hospital, feeling that intensity, I said, that's it. Then I started to study every bit of psychology and philosophy and neuroscience and evolutionary biology and behavioral economics, any social science around why do people do what we do? Both at the individual and the collective level, because we flow within society. right? There's, picture that infinity sign, that Mobius strip going around and around. There's self and society, right? And the center point, so self is here, society is here. The center point is that contact point with the moment, what I call our situational role. Anyway, we're always just flowing. We are never not part of society. We are never not the individualized self. And there's a moment in the middle, right? That contact point. So that's what built the model of how nature designed humans to show up. And that is why it is not a job, it is not a career, it is a calling.
I mean, it's such a impactful way to actually explain. I think it'll be helpful if we define what does it mean to show up. Like, what does it mean? I know you have multiple, is it 3 types of ways that people show up, or more? I don't know.
3 levels. There are 3. So I just
Okay.
made it low, medium, high. There are 3 levels of showing up. But to truly show up, that highest level, you've got to live in all the roles in which nature designed us. It turns out nature designed not just us, but every tree, every drop of water, every blade of grass, every vote, every company, every corporate wellness policy. Nature designed everything in 3 roles. And you can never get out of that reality. So there's 3 levels, but you have to be in all 3 roles that I've already done a foreshadowing of what they are.
Uh-huh.
So I'll explain it in just a minute.
I'm just curious about, so, okay, I'm a genetics guy, right? So I understand your genes, but I always tell people, and people have this, I'm just predisposed to this. It's in my genes and I got it from my parents. But I'm like, yeah, not really, because maybe about 20% of your genes are turned on. The rest of them, you have the power to choose and make lifestyle choices to epigenetically turn those things on. I don't think people realize how alike we are. 99.9% of us are identical. It's at like 0.1%, really small, but you have the power to choose. And I think people get caught in this journey that is laid out for them without actually finding really that middle that you just pointed to, that where am I supposed to be? Can I use my power to be able to, I'll use your terminology, show up in the world and make a contribution when the contribution is aligned with what I'm supposed to do, connected with how I am doing this. Now I'm happy, I am fulfilled, and I'm actually contributing. That contribution fulfills me even more, and I'm continuing to do that. But, people ask me all the time. I've been on so many different shows, and people come on like, how do I find my purpose? What am I supposed to do? Where do I show up? I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure. So maybe you can answer that question for us.
Yeah, you said so much. I love that you separated subjective well-being from meaning. Right. I feel good. Things are meaningful. So subjective well-being and meaning are totally different things. Meaning actually has 4 definitions that we don't have to get into. There's mattering, there's coherence, there's significance. Anyway, that's a separate thing. I want to answer your question about what showing up means.
Yeah.
And I want to answer the question of what are we choosing? Because people gloss over, right? Showing up is a colloquial phrase. We all throw it around. To some people, it's just walking into a room. For others, it's the opposite. It's like absolutely nailing it. It's doing your best. So it's like someone uses a phrase, and this is typical of the way language is. We think we're hearing and understanding the same thing, but we're understanding the complete opposite of each other, right? And of course, opposites flow, right? Because you keep going up and you come up from the bottom, right? So the model of how humans are designed to show up, I will show you right now. I'm going to start with the continuum because people really kind of grok that. I just put a low, medium, and high on it. Level 1, 2, and 3, simple as could be. 1, guess what? It's called something like barely there. Level 2 This is the trouble spot. Just showing up. I'll define that in a minute. I have a whole chapter on each of these. So my research across 20 years, starting in 1999, shows that 80% of us are just showing up 80% of the time. This is the, like, you get out of bed, you turn off the alarm, you brush your teeth, you just do stuff, you just get stuff done. You're in get it done mode. And 99.99% of what's going on around you, you don't even perceive. Your attention is narrow. You're more in this control-based way of attending to the world. It's left hemispheric focused. We're going to come back to this. I want to talk to you about level 3, which is truly showing up. Truly showing up is level 3. And that is when you are in the moment, you are of the moment, but you're also able to look down from above the moment and see the context. Let me talk about this. Mm-hmm. People say, oh, showing up is presencing, right? It's just being deeply present and listening well. Yes, and so much more. You can be in the moment just showing up. You're listening. What goes on there, we're all familiar with, right? You're attending in an open way. A thought comes in, or someone says something, takes you elsewhere, or you're not comfortable and you kind of notice it, or some concern shows up, so you're out. And then at some point you come back in, and then maybe you look at your notes, you've got talking points about how you want to influence others. So you aren't really there. So you're being in the moment is insufficient. That's what most people show up with. Being of the moment, Len, is recognizing that right here, right now, you are my environment. You, in how you're looking at me, in the calmness of your nervous system, the kind of stasis and tranquility of your posture, how you're breathing, how you're blinking. You're literally changing my nervous system and leading me to resonate with you. There's something called interpersonal neurobiology, where literally if two people like you and I right now who barely know each other were to look at each other in a CAT scanner, literally our brain waves would start out separate and then would start to resonate. That means that the you and me become a we, MWE. That's literally a word you created, and it's on the cover of a book by Dr. Daniel Siegel, who is really the founder of a field called interpersonal neurobiology. And so being of the moment recognizes that there's a dynamic flow. And whatever comes next is emerging in each other as a result of each other. That's why I'm saying it's of the moment. So this is our situation member role. Being of the moment shows we're co-creating what is together, right here, right now. And you can be in your kitchen pouring a cup of coffee. You don't have to be with someone else. But you're only going to pick up that mug because it's there and because you've been conditioned to want the coffee. So the environment is creating what you do, how you feel, what you're thinking right now, how you're standing, whether your mouth is salivating, literally. Everything about us is created right now by what's going on right now. That is being of the moment. Then the third thing that we're doing when we're truly showing up in level 3 is every so often we're able to basically step back and see whoa, this is what's going on. I mean, picture someone like going up to the mountain and looking down, and you're able to see the context of this meeting, this discussion, this thing that I'm doing. It has something that comes before it. It has something that comes after it. And there's this whole tail of impact. If I have my coffee, maybe I'm going to have a better day. Sorry, my daughter's just walking in. Hi, sweetie. Great to see you. That's awesome. So anyway, truly showing up means that you can choose. When you're truly showing up, there's a deep level of presencing, and you're also able to have that meta awareness. How am I showing up in the moment right now? Otherwise, Len, we can't choose. We're doing what I call defaulting. We're like just showing up and doing whatever comes out. It's just a far more reactive mode. And that's when you kind of get home and you're like, what the hell happened? Or you leave the meeting and you're like, that didn't really go as planned. Or you just look at your life across time and you're like, is this what I signed up for? So there's a lot there. Barely there, just showing up and truly showing up. And I'm going to show you what happens as you move the continuum. And then if you want, I'll really paint a picture and tell you a story.
Yeah.
What just happened last week. As you move up the continuum, you start to notice, and then you tune in, and then you feel with, and then you naturally enact care. And this is when meaning shows up. And with meaning comes a sense of belonging and significance.
Yeah. Well, if significance is something that actually is driving you, and then sometimes you get this false sense of meaning, maybe I want to hear the story because I think it'll help people to understand. But I have a couple of questions, and I'm going to frame it from my standpoint, personal experience. So I took a class that I think Stephen Kotler was teaching. It's on flow state. Yep. And flow state is that, so your neurochemistry is firing at the exact amount that is required for you to be present, receive that meaning. So it's not the communication with somebody else, it's your flow state. I use this example of a basketball player who can shoot a basket from anywhere, and the basket looks like a swimming pool. They're in flow state. They're there, but they're outside of themselves in a way that they're also, getting that meaning, significance, and having an impact. In addition to that, I also took a class from Joe Dispenza that is I did a retreat that is all about frequency and energy. And there is a connection of that energy. And sometimes you walk in a room and you're drawn to an individual, right? So you are connecting, and maybe there's some sort of frequency alignment, energetic alignment that you're getting. So you choose to be there, but you're feeding each other. That energy is bouncing off each other. And sometimes it's the complete opposite. You walk into a room and I don't know why I'm getting this repellent energy, or something isn't flowing right with these individuals. And it's like you said, you get back in your car, you get home, man, I just feel drained. My energy's been drained. I'm supposed to be in a great event and have a good time, but I feel drained from that. So, I can talk at the brain science, so I can understand it from a a sciencey, I guess, standpoint. But what you're bringing up is really, really important for people to understand. First of all, to have an intuition, be aware, self-aware if you're getting that. And then it would be fantastic to understand if you can prime yourself correctly to get into an environment where you are showing up at your greatest self, and then be able to, create those relationships that that you're supposed to be there with, meaning and significance, as you said.
Yes, yes, yes. And in the book, I talk about priming, I talk about intuition, I talk about flow. So I'm so glad that you're bringing these things up. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to rephrase that, because I don't say it's not talking about, right? It is bringing out insights, information, and examples for people to live it themselves. Okay, not talking about. So may I address that in the order that I'm choosing? Or
absolutely, yeah.
Okay, and Len, I'd like to just pause right now to recognize you. I want to deeply appreciate you because I'm feeling this. I'm going to put some very reductive words on it. I'm appreciating you and what you're contributing and what you have to kind of how you're steering this kind of emergent flow process that's going on between and among us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You started with flow. Flow is considered a universal, like a smile, meaning that humans who, there's very few who literally still live in caves out in the wilds, experience flow. So everyone around the world, it is inherent in nature and it is inherent in humanity. And I think that's a very important thing for people to understand. When you are deeply of the moment, so remember, so there's three roles. There's self role where you're just in it, but it's an ego-based thing. I'm me, you're Len, we're separate beings. I'm disconnected from you, I'm disconnected from society, maybe I feel lonely, but we're islands, right? So that's being in it. When you're of it and you're truly flowing with the emergence, that kind of the whole system, the complex adaptive system that is real life brings, you are of it. And that is when you're in the flow with it. This is also why it's kind of a separate thing to like be able to step back and look at it and choose. So when you're flowing within it, as you know, right, it is considered an optimal state of performance, right? That is what flow is. And with that comes a feeling of meaning, right? When the flow state is somehow concluded, be it temporarily or whatever, you feel that you've spent your time well. You've invested those moments. And that's when you lay in bed that night and feel like this was a good day, right? Often there's a generative nature. There's a feeling of contribution to something beyond ourselves. Then it doesn't matter if you're fixing a car, looking into your child's eyes, reading them a book, right? This is built into the model of how humans are designed to show up in our situational role. Every moment of every day, we are showing up. And the situation is what I call that contact point of here, I just drew a little infinity sign here. You can also consider it a Mobius strip of self on one side, society on the other, and the situation in the middle. When we are deeply presencing with right hemispheric attention that I'm about to explain, we're often in that flow state. We have two attention systems, right? And it's because to survive, we needed to do two things, right? So take us back to living on the savannah now. We had to be able to feed ourselves, grab and get, control over. And we had to not be fed to something else. Broad attention. Is there a predator there? Where are my offspring? Where's the rest of the tribe? Broad surveilling attention. This is the motive of attending that if I were to see a stranger coming out of the brush 50 feet away in a fraction of a second, this is where intuition comes in. I would intuit in my body, friend or foe, trust or don't trust. How do we do that? How does that intuitive state take place? First of all, we're not stressed. We're not like, oh my God, my boss is about to do this. My deliverable is 2 days late. I have a meeting in 3 minutes. Do I look okay? Am I going to perform as I want? Like, no. We need to be in a relaxed state, and then we can sense that human in front of us. This right hemispheric attention is the only one, Len, that enables me to feel what you are feeling, right? If you want to knock it out of the park in a meeting or in a moment with a tender loved one, you have to have your right hemispheric attention more online than your left so that you can feel that person. This is the one where our entire body becomes the sensing system that it's designed for. This is when you sway to the music. It's not just noise in the background. This is when you read a poem and it's meaningful. It's the only one where instead of like, tying your kids' shoes and getting them out your door to be on time, you say, it's okay, you can try to tie your shoes again, and I believe in you. And it's when you're the parent you want to be, and the leader you want to be, and the friend you want to be, okay? So that is the right hemispheric attention system, and it largely is what differentiates us from being in just showing up mode into truly showing up mode. Because when we're in this get it done mode and there's stress of any kind, we're rushed, we're just frustrated, we're tired, we're hungry, we're whatever it may be. What's going on is literally that our mind is representing the past to us in the moment. And what we're seeing is a presentation. It's a map. It's an abstraction. It's not the territory and the richness of real life. And I mention this because our intuition is offline. The sensing of the stranger coming out of that bush is not going to happen. What we're going to do is feel threat when it doesn't exist. And this is when you're in a meeting and everyone around there is threatening you. They think I'm not sufficient. I don't belong at the table. My ideas are not welcome. And some version of fear shows up. The fear often takes one of four forms. And when I say this, audiences are like, oh my God, right on, right on. So the four fears that often show up are, I'm lesser than. So I got to prove myself, right? I'm better than, watch me. I deserve, right? I deserve this. You should be listening to me, right? Or I need to be seen as, right? Think about all the politicians out there, right? And so many of us are in one of those inauthentic modes. And what that does is it shifts us into the left hemisphere more often than we need to be, and perhaps than we really want to be, because we can't truly show up as we choose in that hemisphere or in any of those states. So any of those things need to be seen as. All of those push us from truly showing up into just showing up. And what happens is everyone around us kind of becomes an object who we're trying to control. Think about when we lived out there in nature and there's a rabbit out there and you're like, I'm going to go and kill that rabbit. It's a narrow, control-based, grab it and get it attention that takes us out of the moment and represents the past. And that's when you're like, my God, life has no meaning. Like, this is so meaningless. My job is like, you don't enjoy anything. Your zeal for life is gone. You're just like, really? It's Groundhog Day. Do I have to wait? And then you start to live for the weekends, and then you start to have the extra drink, or to, I'm not going to go to the gym. I'm just done, right? And you try to, you engage in more risk-taking behaviors. You have less determinism over achieving your goals. You just kind of let things go. You're more impulsive. You're like, whatever. And things start to go downhill. Your relationships start to feel less meaningful. All sorts of things go downhill when we're in that mode, and just basic stressors do it. That was a big answer, but it explains you're out of flow, your intuition's offline. Yeah. So now we can talk about how to prime the rest of it, but I want this more of a dialogue.
No, I mean, it's exactly, yeah. I think and then you said you were going to tell a story as well, so I didn't want to interrupt that, but we're establishing ways that you may not want to show up. So everything you said, I hear this all the time. I mean, the Groundhog Day example, it's an ongoing thing. I hear it in certain circles. I've said it myself, in when I'm in the mode of doing instead of being, And, you know, you got your to-do list and be like, you shouldn't have a to-do list. Like all these different, you know, everybody has the, okay, fine. You know, my brain works a certain way. I have ADD, which is my superpower. This is the way I'm supposed to, you know, show up. But if I'm doing and it becomes habitual, like I'm going through my task, I'm doing,
Right.
I'm not being that connection. And probably everybody has their individual needs met, but I need this connection. It's a need for me, you know, this connection that we're having right now. I'm in the moment, I'm present, I'm showing up, we're exchanging energy. If I'm going through my daily tasks and it's a day of doing, I feel drained and I feel that I'm not getting that, you know, back and forth kind of exchange. So I think it's really important that you express that. But what do we do about it? What action do we take if we're noticing this about ourselves? It's groundhog over and over a day. What do we do?
Yeah. Okay. So there's a gentleman who heard about my work and he came to me, and he is extremely successful. He's the chief operating officer of a very large company. Hundreds of people report to him. And he's always been in leadership roles. And he said, you know, Marcy, I've never felt that I was truly present. Can you help me? So I said, yeah, let's meet. So we met a few weeks ago. And he starts once again to explain, you know, what's going on at home with his kids and his wife, who he's divorcing from, and all these things. And he said the entire thing, all the suffering, is because he can't truly connect. He can't. And he feels like, what's it all for? And everything is uphill. So I said, you know, look at the man over there. So at the table adjacent to us, 5 feet away, there was a man. And he looked at the man and he said, oh my God, what a slacker. It's Tuesday at 11 o'clock. He should be at work. He should be getting this done. Da, 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 da. And he really went on and he was angry and judgmental. And he looked at me. So I said, Chuck, we'll call him Chuck. That's not his real name. I said, Chuck, keep looking. So he's like, and then he looks over. And he just looks. And I noticed a little change in his breathing. He kind of looked back at me, and then he looked back at the man, this time with softer eyes and a more relaxed body, opening up his receptivity to that human being who is now in a process of being transformed from an object to a human. He looks at this man and he said, you know, he's not very happy. He's really distracted. In fact, he just keeps switching and going back and forth. And he's looking at the person he's with, and he's looking, and he's describing this, and he's looking at me as if it's sufficient. He's not happy. Okay. So I said, keep looking. And he said, you know, there's a woman who's sitting there, as if he's discovering her for the first time. She's been there the whole time. There's a woman, you know what? That could be his daughter. But you know what? He's not looking at her. And he's not really with her. He keeps switching as if there's something really important that's on his phone. He's like, wow. And he looks at me and he said, you know, I feel sad. I really feel sad if that's his daughter and he's not with her. Even if it's an employee, you know, maybe it is a meeting for his business. Maybe this is, you know, maybe I shouldn't have dismissed it and been judging him for not working. Maybe this is someone who he really needed to coach, but maybe there's an urgent issue with the business that they're both working on. And that's why they aren't speaking with each other. But, you know, he looks really sad. And this is all like a minute and a half, maybe 2. And literally his eyes started to tear. And he looked at me and he said, I feel really sad. And he said, and my eyes were starting to tear here. And he said, you know, Marcy, maybe after you and I meet, I can go over and, you know, would it be really strange if I offer him a hug? You've got to understand Chuck. Chuck is 6 feet tall. Chuck is built. And he's in his mid-50s. This is like, you wouldn't expect this man to say like, hey, I wonder if you're having a hard day. Would you like a hug? I mean, So Chuck looks at me and he said, oh my God, I was really present. You did it. I said, well, I didn't do it. You opened yourself. And what he did, it's literally right here on, let's see, what page is this of the book? He noticed here, it's a couple places, pages, I guess, 84. And I'm showing the show up continuum. He moved from just showing up into then noticing and then tuning in, like, wow, he's sad, or wow, he's with this woman next to him. Feeling with, oh, I feel sad, and enacting care. And that is the magic of what happens. And he shifted in doing so, he shifted from his left hemisphere into his right, because in his left, he can't feel anybody. The human being is an object. This is what enabled the judgment. And by the way, in his judging, was he authentic? No. He was judging because his whole life, and here's where the backstory comes in, his whole life, he wasn't able to be truly accepted for who he is because he grew up in a household. The relationship with his parents was acrimonious. They were fighting. They were screaming. The three boys in the house, of which he's the oldest, he didn't feel emotionally safe. So he looked at his brothers and he took on the role of savior. He took on the role of like, hey, Joey, let's go out and play some basketball, right? When mom and dad were not happy in the house. Let me help you with math. And he became the person who was so good at everything and who always was looking around. What do I need to be doing now? How do I need to be making everything fit together so that things don't fall apart? This is what led him to be as successful as he is. He also chose a partner who's needy because he needed to be needed. He also chose to have 5 kids because he needed to keep all these balls in the air. So his entire life was designed by how he showed up within the environment of his childhood home. And by the way, we're all the same way. I'm this way, you're this way. Everyone listening is like this. So it became a huge strength of his that he, now he's able to very effectively manage teams of hundreds of people. However, it led his marriage to fall apart. It led him to look back on 55 years and say, I've never really been there. But what he experienced with me is that flow state of being deeply in his situation member role. The ego of his self was quieted. His mirror turned outward toward others. And he became a member of society, right? Something beyond himself. That is truly showing up. So anyone can practice this. A listener, the moment the podcast is over, just look around. Someone in the cubicle next to you, on the train next to you, on the street, just look at them for a few minutes. And as you notice what comes up, just keep being more observant. And you will notice your heart opening. You will switch from head mode to heart mode. That's a phrasing of Jim Doty, who literally is a brain surgeon. He was the creator of the Stanford Center of Compassion and Altruism Research. He now runs the Dalai Lama Foundation. Anyway, you move from your head mode to your heart mode, and the person will go from object to human being, and you will move from just showing up to truly showing up.
Yeah, it's such a powerful story because I think everybody can resonate with it. My show is Everything is Personal. So from a personal standpoint, when you started saying this first, I could visualize myself in that. And I saw him sitting there. And the first thing that kind of appeared to me is that he's projecting before you even got into the rest of the story, because it reminded me of me. In a way where, I was told that I'm lazy, I'm not good enough, and all this stuff. And my dad was an overachiever, double master's degrees, blah 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 blah, and I was not. So this whole slacker mentality, and I'm like, I wonder if I've projected any of that onto my daughter, for instance, because if I feel that she's not active working, maybe she's not contributing, and now I'm concerned that she's not going to be that happy and contribute to society and receive and give and all that stuff. So I am now projecting not only what I went through, but I'm also projecting onto the people around me. And this, what you brought up with this whole thing of doing constantly, like you need, I selected, I guess, a person in my life previously, my ex-wife, who was this needy person. I needed to be needy because now I have a sense of significance and I'm important in somebody's life. And then I am resentful of that because I'm constantly needy, or I'm constantly needed by somebody who's needy. And when are you going to get your shit together? But I made that selection. I made that choice. I'm accountable for that. But this cycle continues in people all the time. And I mean, maybe it has taken a pause. Maybe it's taken a beat. And maybe it's, as you just said, it's instead of doing, it's okay to just be and not do and keep yourself busy with that. And you mentioned, I think showing up as a contact sport.
Right.
So once again, with priming, and you said like get out of your left to the right brain, go into your brain into your heart, which makes total sense. But as we go through our daily lives on the train, on the phone, in the office, home, dinner, cooking, how do we find that space to be able to just be and get out of this cycle, this hamster wheel of life?
Right. So there's a short term in the moment answer, and then there's a longer term answer. Yeah. I don't subscribe to behavioral change approaches to change. I think they're superficial. And I'm not saying that Jim Cleary's atomic habits and all sorts of stuff like that with habit stacking and all these things, can't be helpful. But when how you believe the world works shifts, right? Because everything is showing up and it's designed to be symbiotic. And there's a mutuality, right? How you show up for the world is how the world shows up for you. Once you understand the tenets of how the world and nature is designed to show up, right? And we are nature. It's not that we're in it, we're of it. We are of the earth, right? I'm not saying God didn't create us if that's your belief, but we are of the earth. So once you understand how nature designed humans to show up, you have the choice of how you show up, and you naturally show up differently. So you don't have to work on change. You naturally show up differently because your underlying beliefs have been evolved to be more aligned with nature, just the way that we are. And I'd be happy to get into like what the core beliefs are about how humans are designed to show up. But I really quickly want to also address the like in the moment thing. I hear a lot of people say, just pause, right? Just stop and breathe. I mean, yes, that's fine, but getting yourself to do it is the issue. So what I want to do is introduce a slightly different question. Okay. A lot of people ask, how can I be better? Right? In fact, a lot of listeners, Len, right now are thinking that what we're talking about is how can I be better? And that's not a truly show up question. That's a just show up question. The truly show up version of that, Len, is who can you be when you are with me? Do you create emotional safety, right? So what it leads to is like, am I creating an emotionally safe environment for you so that you can be authentic with me, so that you choose to share with me, so that your great ideas at the meeting are brought out because I'm creating a space. I'm inviting for you, right? Who can you be when you are with me? Once again, this is the mirror that from the self role is now turned outward. This is what I experienced when I was 6. Who can you be when you're with me? Because when I raised my hand in class, I mean, holy crap, the whole class was like, ah, the teacher's gonna have to call on Marcy. And I felt it. And I wanted to cry. And I said to myself, no, it isn't who I can be when I'm with you, because I couldn't show up as I chose. How can I let you be who you want to be? Happy, contented, encouraging, supportive, compassionate when you're with me, because I'm in the class too, right? And so that is the truly show up question. It smushes the ego-based self-role and lets it dissipate so that we're connected all at once. That shift of question shifts your whole mindset such that others go from objects who we want to influence, who we want to control. If we could just get our teen to get up for school and do their homework right away, right? Instead of that control over mode, we go into, how can I help you be more of who you want to be? And then guess what? Our phone rings and it's, hey, we have a need for someone to help us with this. Or, hey, would you like to go to this special thing? Or, you know, we need a speaker next week on our stage and someone dropped out and I thought you would be great. That's when the opportunities show up because people feel that energy. They feel safe with you. Trust is huge. Their trust shows up. Their authenticity shows up. Their best self shows up. Yeah.
But I think it's very powerful, even in any relationship, to be able to provide emotional safety for people to be their authentic self. You know, leading with heart, etc. But sometimes, you know, we've gone through life and we've developed calluses. So we've trusted people and people hurt us. People let us down.
Right.
You know, we've opened ourselves up and, you know, life happened. And not everybody is there to do good in the world. Some people are there to take advantage of you. And maybe you're wearing a couple masks. Maybe you have some doors that are closed or not wide open. So you yourself are cautiously, you want to show up. I'm talking about me. I want to show up. But, you know, sometimes I've opened myself and was disappointed, let's say. How do you get past some of these you know, experiences that you've had previously that when you did show up authentically, you may have not, the outcome may have not been the outcome that you desire, and still to continue to trust and still show up open, still with that voice in the back of your mind saying, remember last time? Remember 5 years ago? Remember what happened when you did this?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Scars. The trauma stays in us and it doesn't become growth until we process it at a certain level. That's exactly right. So the fears show up. So there's a couple things here. One is you've really got to journal or meet with a therapist or share with a friend, and you've really got to feel it. The only way to through it is through it. You're not going to go over it. You're not going to go around it. You're not going to go under it. If you want to really be able to get the learning, you need to process that at the next level such that you can say, you know, the scar is there, right? The fear is there, but I'm going to make a different decision to be authentic and not to live small. You know, I want to bring up deathbed wishes. You know, one of the things that I often study, almost everybody says, I wish I had spent less time working, more time with the people I love. The second thing is I wish I told the people I love that I love them. The third thing is I wish I had lived my own life, not the life society says, where you chase the title, the big car, or you spend the money on whatever. So you live an authentic life that was right for me. And what you just brought up is the next thing. I wish I had not lived small. I wish I'd gone for it, right? So when you feel that fear and it's holding you back, process it enough to get to the point where you can bring forth your truly show up self, right? So switch into your the calm state of your nervous system, your parasympathetic system. Go from your head to your heart by really focusing on other people as human beings. Maybe picture your own younger self. Give that self a hug. That's a great way to open up your heart. And also recognize whomever is there that's threatening you or whatever is threatening you, everything is showing up on the same continuum, bouncing around all day long. Maybe some people are morning people, they wake up in truly show up mode and everything is wondrous. And they're noticing how the sun is reflecting off the leaf that's on the tree that's across the street. This is so great. And creativity is flowing and, feeling their toothbrush, right. And, and then at some point they're just tired and grumpy and they're moving down and everyone's bouncing along this. So give yourself, so it's a permission system. That's the other point to help you get past the fear. You have permission to be wherever you are on the continuum. And so does everybody else. This is where Mel Robbins' Let Them system kind of is baked into showing up. And by the way, Mel Robbins, thank you very much. Mel wrote the quote on the cover of the book. And that was, I guess, before it became a #1 bestseller. So I don't know if she ended up helping with that. But yeah, so I mean, just to summarize, the short answer is when you've got that fear, if it's holding you back, you got to process it at the next level. And then give yourself permission to feel it such that you have choice. And what the choice is, once again, is how are you showing up such that you're able to go up to the mountain and look down and see it from afar, see how you're showing up and make a choice about it.
Marcy, when somebody finishes reading How We Choose to Show Up, what would you want them to walk away with, or what's one transformation or something that you want them to walk away with?
Yeah, so I'll just summarize kind of the belief system around showing up. This is a way of living. So the first is that you're impacting the world at every moment. It was Nicholas Christakis who did the research. I quote him in both of my TED Talks and in every podcast. The 20 people around you are 45% more likely to do what you do. It's that simple. The 20 people around them are 25% more likely to do what you do. And then the next set of people, so it's 20 times 20 times 20, there's 8,000 people. That last group is 10% more likely to do what you do. And doing isn't just doing, okay? Because doing is created by how you feel and what you think. So your thoughts, feelings, and actions every moment are going 8,000 people deep. So number one, you're impacting the world every moment by how you show up. Number two, the world is showing up for you based on how you're showing up. So if you're stressed in any way, even a smile can come across as a threat. So the people in the meeting really may not be judging you, but your fear that they are creates it, and that's what you see, okay? So the world shows up for you the way that you show up, number two. Number three is that reciprocity and symbiosis, right? We are designed to help each other, and we are designed to respond to each other at every moment. And then the fourth set of beliefs about how the world works are that we are designed to care. Showing up is a system of care for each other. And that's what this whole thing is about. Because when you care, you're in your right hemisphere. The results, you feel connected. You feel belonging. You attend to the world with a sense of meaning and significance.
Yeah, it's beautifully said. Just to shift focus a little bit, I have a few questions I ask all my guests, unrelated to your wonderful book and what we talked about, more music related. So we'll switch hemispheres. We'll go into something a little bit different. Do you remember, and if so, what was the very first concert that you attended?
Oh my God, Billy Joel. And I want to say it was probably Madison Square Garden. And I was like 10 years old and it was so loud, I thought my ears were going to bleed. I was a child.
Supposed to wear headphones as kids, but I did the same thing. I took my daughter to an Alice in Chains, Jane's Addiction concert for her first show because she wanted to see Justin Bieber. And I'm like, I'll take you to Bieber, but you got to go see like a real show first. And I didn't do the headphone thing. I didn't think about it. But what was the last concert you attended?
Yeah, so I go to things like the Fab Four, which I think right now is the #1 Beatles reenactment band. In fact, I'm going in 2 weeks on Saturday to the Capitol Theater in Port Chester, New York. It's in Westchester, just south of Greenwich, if anyone knows that. The Fab Four, yeah. So that's the next one I'm going to, and I saw them recently. Yeah.
For next year, you can only listen to 5 albums. Now, you don't have to remember the name of the album. It could be a Beatles or Billy Joel or whatever.
Yeah.
What will be those 5 albums?
Oh God, definitely Fleetwood Mac. Something with the Beatles, something with Led Zeppelin, something with the Stones or Doors or Aerosmith. That genre.
Gotcha. Okay, and final question. Please describe what your room looked like growing up.
Yeah, well, I see Kiss in the background there. So I had Kiss posters, but so after age 11, when my mother said, clean up your room, I cleaned it up and it was very organized. It had a lot of art that I did. I create art. That's the other thing that I do. If anyone's around the Hamptons Fine Art Fair, I'll be there. I'm going to be in Paris in February at the Grand Palais in Paris with my art. So it had a lot of art, and it also had a drafting table because I used to kind of architect things. It was very much of an invention space, a creation space.
Was it your art mostly? Did you have any other art or any like posters or anything else?
So I did have posters on the back of my door of like male, in my teen years, right? Like, like the sexy teenage guys who were like on the soap operas or in rock bands. Yeah.
I had a Heather Locklear post. I have the one that she's wearing a pink bikini. They're like, I talk to guys that are my age, like I had the same. I'm like, I had the same poster.
Yeah. And your daughter at Berkeley, right, played that. They were all playing the 80s bands. By the way, one quick comment. I listened to the podcast where you interviewed the gentleman about water and breathing. And he kept making analogies between the human body and tech. I want to be very careful. Not until blood runs through the veins of a microchip will AI ever care about us. Yeah. So anyone who seeks a sense of belonging and connectedness or solace in any way from, interfacing with tech, know that it doesn't care about you. And what it's going to lead to is you're being less comfortable with actual human beings who are more likely to be inconsistent and perhaps cause a sense of pain. Remember that we are not machines and tech and AI, and it's not artificial intelligence. It's artificial information processing. Don't call it intelligent. Tech will never care. And that is fatal. It's fatal. Let's hope not for humanity.
I love what you said. We should definitely have like a part 2 podcast, because one of the things that I've been seeing, experiencing, and speaking, there's a few podcasts that haven't been edited yet for that, but it's a lot of things that we talked about with our kids, and maybe COVID time had a little bit to do with this, but the disconnection from human connection, allow people to connect through video games. So now they think they have a friend in Iceland who's their buddy, who they're playing video games, but there is no, they're disconnected. So when they find a tribe, any tribe, they gravitate to that tribe because they're seeking connection, regardless if they actually stand for what the tribe is calling for or not. And that's how we get these silos. And you brought up Berkeley. I mean, wow. You go through Berkeley and there's chanting, there's demonstration, there's these, and it's like the sheep mentality over and over and over, that they gravitate just because they want acceptance, because that's something they've missed throughout their life, because they're connecting to machines, as you just said.
Right. So a sense of belonging, you've got a home in three ways. Once again, the model: self, situation, society. You've got a home within yourself first, which means your mirrors turn outward, and the ego-based self becomes more of an interconnected self flowing with nature. Then you've got a home within the moment, right here, right now. What does that mean? It means that we are flowing, right? And then you've got a home and belong within something beyond ourselves. All of this is built into the model of how nature designed humans to show up. And it'll save them being from false homes, if you will.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me again?
Yes, I can hear you again.
Sorry, something happened with my mic. It just kind of went crazy. Now it's back. Can you just repeat? Sorry for the last part that you said, because I think it got cut out.
Yeah. So a sense of belonging is an inherent need of every human and of our collective humanity, right? We need to feel interwoven with something beyond ourselves. That can be a family, it can be a God, it can be a religion, a race, a company, a team. But we need that to be healthy. Otherwise, we feel a sense of anxiety, and that leads to all sorts of other things. So homing ourselves within a band of people who play a video game, as you say, is hollow, because we don't truly know the people, the humans behind the actions. We judge from actions, right? So what the model of how nature designed humans to show up explains is that we need to home ourselves first within ourself, with ourself turned outward toward others, in a what can I do for you type of mode, right? Caring for others. We then need to home ourselves within our moment, presencing more with the right hemispheric interconnected mode. And then we need to home ourselves within the larger whole of society, call it a family, once again, a company, a team, right? Those three things. Otherwise, the depth of belonging doesn't feel meaningful, right? It doesn't kind of transduce us into the human beings that we're designed to be, which then enables us to truly show up. Instead, we just show up. It's get it done mode. People have called this, Marcy, I've been sleepwalking through life, right? That's the just showing up mode, which is the finding a sense of belonging within the video game. I really want to mention here John Vervaeke, and give him credit. He wrote a book on zombies, and he mentions like all of our humanity is kind of moving that way, where it isn't where we're separate from, like we're seeking a connectedness, but we're never going to wake up again for who we are. We're going to wander aimlessly in a group, but not feeling a sense of meaning from that. And he says that video games create a coherence that kind of induces people into the mode, because you know how to level up. There's a coherence to it where it makes sense. You know how to win, such that you can depend on yourself and you can work really hard to achieve and level up. And in life today, in society, it's not really like that, because we're so confused about what success really is. Success is homing within ourselves. being deeply presencing within our moments and being interconnected within something beyond ourselves with intent to serve, right? And that's the model of for truly showing up as nature designed.
Right. I mean, such powerful messages that people I hope people really resonate with this, because it definitely is a way of life and how people should choose to show up in the world. So Marcy, I really, really appreciate you being on. Where can people engage with you, buy your book, content wise, contact you, anything else you want to share?
So the website, choosetoshow.up.com. And there's a contact form. I would love to hear from people. You can also buy the book from the site, and it's on Amazon.
Great. For my audience, thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for showing up, and thank you for all the wonderful reviews and feedback. And don't forget to share, subscribe, like, all those things. And the reviews really help, with the algorithms. And I'm not good at all that stuff, but I was told to ask. So I'm asking if people can support the show if you like it. And thank you for buying my book, Making Cannabis Personal, also available on Amazon. Marcy, thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate it. And I appreciate the feedback that you gave me. So thank you. And I feel the same way. I feel present and connected. And that's how we're bouncing energy back and forth. So I appreciate you being on. Thank you so much.
Len, thank you.
Hey, everyone. So does anybody know what greening out means? I've been the recipient of so many calls over the years of people greening out. That means they took too much THC and had an adverse reaction. So I always recommend other things, but nothing really concrete. Now I can. There's a solution. It is called Antidose. Antidose.com is quick. It's rapid. It works immediately, safe and effective. So I love my props. If you are toasty or you are burnt, that's the difference. Now, I also love the 1 gummy, 2 gummy, 3 gummy floor. So just be aware, very narrow therapeutic window. You know exactly what you can take now if you've taken too much. Once again, it's Antidose at antidose.com. Get yours today. Hey everyone, thank you for watching and listening. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, share this episode, and hit that bell. Like, comment. I so appreciate that. And check me out on social under Len May or Len May DNA. Find out more on LinkedIn or lenmaycoaching.com. And remember, everything is personal.